Thank you so much. I'm honored and thrilled to be part of this big event. It's my first event, and I'm so fascinated by the size, how beautiful it is, and with all the women that came here today to support an event and to learn more about how to empower yourself, your family, and to know more about heart problems. I discovered two special things today. One is more happy and one is more sad. I'll start with the sad one. I discovered that I would love to wear something red, and I'm such a boring person because I didn't have anything red in my closet. So I'm like, ooh, I need to do some shopping. That's today. And then the second, the more happy thing, I'm a gynae oncologist, which is after finishing OBGYN, you do more training to specialize in women's cancer surgery. So ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, and we're very happy and fortunate to be offering this service in the Inland Empire. It was much needed. So my son, and excuse my French, calls me a vagina doctor. He doesn't say I'm a gynecologist or anything. He tells his friend that I'm a vagina doctor. So I'm like, well, thank you for all the years I put into being a vagina doctor, but anyways, it's worth it. So I'll go home today. I'll tell him that I got promoted to speak about the heart today. So I'm very happy. That's my happy thing today. I'm not a heart specialist, but we see a lot of women going through their menopause. And I think it's such a critical event that a lot of women don't speak about, think it's just a natural process and they don't know about what to do to kind of minimize all the risks and when to do it. They hear a lot of different things. And I'm hoping by the presentation today I can kind of clarify some of it. It's not enough, but at least it gives you some guidance. There are differences between men and women, many differences. The most fun is this one, with desires and with hunger. It's an on and off button for most men. For women, as you see, it's very complex. So I think we all agree with this. The other one is when we take a shower. This is how thorough you rub and scrub yourself. This is women, so we do a good job. For men, you know, they focus on special areas. So I think it's a fascinating difference as well. I hope you all agree. Maybe some exceptions, but most probably will agree. The other thing is where the love locates. You know, the picture can explain itself. I don't think, oh, sorry, I'm not clicking. I'm going with my computer, and as you see, I can show you again. This is the difference. This is my slide. So this is the difference, the on and off button for men, and then the more complex, how we're designed to be. Very, very complex. I think most men in this room will agree so much with me. And then this is the shower thingy. So you see the red is woman scrubbing from head to toe, and it's all red. Very thorough, very good job. But for men, this is the only thing, you know, at least most, I'll say, quick shower. And they go like, why do you take a long time showering? I'm like, well, because I wash a little more than you do. So kind of funny. And then when it comes to, the click is not liking what I'm saying. It's designed by men, I'm just sorry. Okay, it's failing me. Maybe next slide. Oh, here you go. So where our love locates. The picture explains itself. So another big difference between men and women, right? Ladies in the room and men in the room. See, they all agree with me. More important than cardiovascular diseases, right? Next slide. Men are stronger, at least most. Some women go to fitness and what they call it CrossFit, and they get muscles and stuff, but you know, it's just we're designed for men to be stronger. Next slide. But then there are a lot of, at least, thinking that we have a stronger heart. I love to know that. This just makes me happy. Next slide. Unfortunately, is not really true. So we do have a stronger heart to some extent, but it's not what is kind of the thinking, that as extensive as the thinking goes. Next slide. So cardiovascular diseases do develop later in women, by about 7 to 10 years. So we're protected in the earlier years in life. And then we do, in general, have a longer life expectancy. But the problem is we suffer greater risk with a lot of chronic diseases. We still do die or have the same leading causes of death, which includes cardiovascular diseases, it includes heart disease and Alzheimer. And the majority of the cause of women death, as you heard, is after age 65 is cardiovascular events. Next. So the risk and the problem is, and as you heard it through the morning, the problem is the risk is underestimated when it comes to women because of that theory that we have a stronger heart and we're protected against cardiovascular diseases. So we ignore the subtle symptoms and we don't address them early enough. So it leads to under-recognized and undertreated cardiovascular events with probably worse outcome because of that. Next. So there is a problem when it comes to symptoms, the clinical presentation and interpretation of most non-invasive testing when it comes to cardiovascular events and heart diseases in women. There is a syndrome, and it will be, the next speaker will be talking more about it, is a chest pain syndrome. It's very common in women. It's not related to cardiovascular diseases. Women tend to have it a lot more. And that's why, because they get it more frequent and they go to the doctor, they don't find anything. When they have the time to develop more serious event that is related to true cardiovascular diseases, it gets kind of underestimated and ignored because automatically the thinking goes into most likely the chest pain syndrome. The other problem is we don't have specific reading or changes when it comes to non-invasive testing like ACG. So there is no gender specification to the interpretation of the testing. So even if we have some issues, it doesn't appear as it appears when women do, when it's done in men. The other thing is we have different or low exercise capacity for stress tests. So again, it presents, it doesn't present as well. And then the small vascular volume in women, all the three factors lead to misinterpretation of the non-invasive testing. So maybe, and again, this is probably what's happening in Riverside Community Hospital, is not to ignore these symptoms and to not just be satisfied by doing the non-invasive testing and to probably proceed with more invasive testing to really see the difference. Next slide. Risk factors, the common risk factors in men and women. Of course, most of you know, smoking, lack of exercise, hypertension, diabetes, stress, obesity, and then stress and anger. Next. Specific to women, even if she doesn't have hypertension or diabetes at a specific age, but if she had a history of hypertension and diabetes during pregnancy, that automatically puts her at a higher risk. And then a specific hormonal dysfunction, or it's called polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a metabolic syndrome that could lead to more events for specific women. Next. Estrogen in the woman's reproductive life or premenopause has a protective effect on most women when it comes to cardiovascular events. Problem is, after menopause, that protective effect is gone or will disappear. And for women that have early menopause, whether it's premature ovarian failure, meaning just a menopause with no specific cause before age 45 or 40, or if she underwent a surgical menopause, meaning had a procedure that took the uterus and ovaries out, especially the ovaries, that is very known cause of shorter life expectancy in women by about 2 to 3 years. Next. Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah. So menopause is a really critical period of any woman's life. Woman is 50% of the society, and every woman eventually will go through menopause. So we have to be very aware of what menopause means, and then what should we do to help ourselves and improve our health. So menopause is when you don't have, your ovaries are not working anymore as it used to be. You have less estrogen, progesterone, which is drop in hormones. That leads to increase or back to kind of what men has of a level of cardiovascular diseases, osteoporosis, sexual dysfunction, early Alzheimer, and all leads to poor quality of life. Hormonal therapy, back before 2002, before the famous study that is called WHI, Women's Health Initiative, used to be used for every woman after menopause to protect them from all those factors and to help some symptoms that is associated with menopause, like the vasomotor symptoms, hot flashes, sexual dysfunction, and stuff like that. But then that study showed, they took a bunch of, a wide range of women between age 50 to 70, and they just started them on hormones without assessing the risk factors. And they just put them on hormones, different kinds, and that led to, when they analyzed the study, they saw a significant increase in cardiovascular events, stroke, breast cancer, and a lot of other things. And that itself led to drop, next slide, led to drop in hormonal use in general, and every woman and physician was fearful of starting any hormonal therapy, which was kind of the overreacting and not the right thing to do, because it led back to a lot of poor quality of life, sexual dysfunction, osteoporosis, and a lot of other factors, increased cardiovascular events. Then years later, they sub-analyzed the WHI study, and they found that for women that is just right after menopause, whether it's surgical or natural, when they start hormonal therapy, especially estrogen alone, it does have a lot of protective effect without significant increase in risk. So we have to really tailor who should start and who should not start. We cannot still recommend it as a preventative measure, but at least for women with with vasomotor symptoms and with any other symptoms that is affecting her quality of life after menopause, it is the right thing to do. Next slide. Next slide. So all what we need is usually for protective effect and to take away the menopausal symptoms and to have that protective effect is the estrogen. Problem is, in women with uterus, they cannot just be on estrogen alone because that could increase the risk of uterine cancer. So most women need progesterone to balance that estrogen on the uterus. But progesterone proven to increase the risk, at least when it's given systemic, increase the risk of all the cardiovascular events and cancer and stuff like that. So what can we do? Next slide. Is to next slide, one more. Is to probably get more systemic estrogen and give local progesterone to the uterus in a form of IUD or something like local to kind of, again, get all the benefit from the estrogen without the risk of the progesterone. Next slide. So we talked about the clinical presentation. We have to, the take-home message today is just to pay more attention to those clinical symptoms. Next slide. And just to try to lower all the risk factors by exercising, eating healthy, and quit smoking. And I thank you so much for allowing me to be part of this event today.